Hey guys, I'm here with Gerald Glassford of Your Game Source. We're going to talk about E3. Gerald, what games are you looking forward to or hoping to hear announced at E3?
E3. I love E3. I've been fortunate and privileged enough to go to a few myself, and the one thing I just love as far as the experience is concerned, and seeing the throng of gamers and gaming specialists and gaming press, just like all convene in one small area. And I hope at some point in time we can get you down there as well, Josh. Um, but to your question. I guess the first and foremost thing is I wrote an article on yourgamesource.com on our In Case You Missed It page earlier today, and it was really focusing on the big three. And then what basically E3 has all the different variables that you can ask for as far as the gamer is concerned, from accessories to handhelds to indie games to pretty much anything you can ask for. And but really, when it comes down to E3 is always judged by the actions and what actually goes on during the press conferences of the big three publishers, and that's PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. And uh, well, pretty much, where would you like me to start? Do you have a favorite in mind, or?
Microsoft's Monday, so let's. What are you hoping to see for Microsoft? We know they're going to talk about Halo, obviously, but what else would you like to
They
see?
are going to talk about Halo 5. That will be a great part of their planning, either through the Halo 5 Guardians, which are probably going to show some gameplay from both the multiplayer and the single player aspects, but also as well, I think they may still tease some people with maybe some extra stuff for the Halo Master Chief Collection, which got off to such a bad start, but with through fixes and updates has really started to refine itself as a can't miss property if you own it or are going to own an Xbox One. They recently added, as you know already, the Halo ODST, but I have a feeling at some point in time they're going, even though they've said, no, we're not going to do it, I think they are going to add in the Reach, Halo Reach, as part of that collection at some point in time as paid DLC or even free DLC at that point.
What about Halo
Um,
Wars? You think that'll eventually make it?
no, it did sell well for an RTS, but Ensemble was closed actually before the game was even released. At the time it came out, even though it scored well, it actually sold very well. But I don't believe you might see it as an HD remake. You may see it someday if Microsoft really starts to dig deep into its vault. You may see a sequel someday. I don't think really that they're counting on it for really much anything as far as outside of maybe 2 to 4 million in sales, which is not for them a foundation or a pillar of strength for them. What they're looking for is that 7 to 10 to 12 million seller that the first person shooter aspects seem at this point in time in the marketplace to have a better chance of getting. So I do see Halo Reach being added to that concept because many consider that to be one of the better versions of the Halo series. Um, and but along with that, there's also Gears of War, both Gears of War, the reboot, Gears of War 4, whatever you want to call it, which is going to be uh, probably a holiday 2016 release. I think it needs to be because they're going to alternate between a new Halo release and a new Gears release because they're both the cornerstones of the Xbox franchises. And then also as well, they're going to have some type of, I don't know, they don't want to say it's called a Master Phoenix, Marcus Phoenix collection, excuse me if I can say that correctly. Some type of Gears 1, 2, and 3. I don't think they're going to include Judgment. I think they're just going to include 1, 2, and 3 as far as a remastering concerned, because that is all the rage right now for a lot of these developers and publishers is to actually, remake some of these greatest hits from the previous generations, or most of them are from the previous generation, and HD upgrade it, provide a little bit of here and there and actually provide it for a new consumer base, and for a lot of us that enjoyed it in the first place, be able to enjoy it again in full 1080 and 60 frames per second. So I definitely see a collection being announced, which would probably most likely be a holiday release as well. Maybe it's a first quarter release, but I just think that Xbox themselves is really has to gear up right now. Sony and PlayStation are a little bit down as far as because of the Uncharted 4 delay. So they really have some gaps that they need to fill in their holiday arsenal. With the Xbox One 1 terabyte SKU that was just announced, and also the permanent price drop, which was already a price drop that was going on forever for the 500 gig without Connect. It just seems like a natural that they are trying to corner themselves and trying to get themselves into a position where they can firmly, put their claim on the holiday market.
Okay. Yeah, they had a couple re-releases recently too. They had Final Fantasy X and X-2 came out, and I'm sure there are a couple others. I just can't remember them right now.
But 10 and 10.2 came out for multi-platform on a multi-platform basis. So for Xbox One exclusivity, they're trying to make themselves a little bit. They're trying to basically this is their opportunity. Even though PlayStation did win last month and they've won almost every month so far this year as far as the domestic market is concerned, and they do they've outpaced both the Wii U and the Xbox One sales. If there's no better time for Xbox One and the Wii U to catch up than this holiday season, because as I stated, there's so many gaps right now in the holiday schedule due to delays and things of that nature for PlayStation at this point in time. So if there's going to be any point in time which the Wii U and the Xbox One can catch up, it's got to be at this point in time in this year. Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is a timed exclusive, will also be shown in detail as well. I just also think that something else that they're going to probably have to show Forza 6, the new Fable, though both going to be actually on display as well. But there's got to be just one, maybe two more things that they should be showing that will probably get a lot of people to lean towards the Xbox One, at least at this point in time.
Okay, yeah. Like multi-platform or exclusive? Are you talking?
I would say exclusive because ultimately between gamers that are, and there's going to be a lot of gamers like you and I that are watching these conferences first and foremost, and a lot weighs on what, for us gamers anyways, what exclusives are going to draw us in and have us fork over the $350-$400 it needs to meet, to buy one of those systems. And it's usually ultimately ends up being, what about the exclusives? So for people who have the Wii U, as we discussed on a previous podcast, it's all about their exclusives that entices customers to buy the Nintendo systems. Same thing with the Xbox. If you are really into the Gears, the Halo series, the Forza series, then Xbox is the place to be. Whereas the PlayStation 4 has done Sony has done a tremendous job of promoting the PlayStation 4 as the platform on the current generation of consoles, but they've been able to do it without a really, really strong first party lineup. They've been doing everything through their multi-platforms, or also as well a lot of digital download and indie titles, as far as being able to fully embrace them before pretty much either Nintendo or Xbox One has. But I just think right now for Xbox, this is their time now. If they can't do it at this point in time in this calendar year, they probably will not catch up in this current generation.
That makes sense. I know they had Remedy had a couple games in the work, right? And 2K Games has what they just announced. It was I can't remember the name of it.
But it would, you know, and that's these multi-platforms are great. I know Remedy would be talking to them about possibly an Alan Wake, but you know, Microsoft has been kind of cool on making an Alan Wake sequel. Whether or not it comes to fruition there or on Sony's platform, we have yet to see. But when it comes to these multi-platforms, uh, outside of the Call of Duties, where where are your friends playing at? And maybe also as well the upcoming Star Wars Battlefront. Where are your friends playing at? A lot of these multi platforms can be played on both systems, and it's there's a discernible difference between them, or even PC for that matter. The multi platforms that really are affected are, as you know, GTA 5, Call of Duty. But there's very few that will move the needle for one console or the other. Um, Sony, for some, for a lot of people, for many reasons, has been able to push the needle and make it. I think basically off that E3, what, 3 years ago now, 3 years ago, or no, 2 years ago, where they proved themselves so conducive to the consumer by their policies that they made, and their pricing structure at that time, which they were $100 cheaper than the Xbox One, and the game sharing program. They were used that, and they catapulted themselves into this lead because of that press conference. So anybody who says that E3 has lost touch and E3 is not what it used to be and whatnot, you just have to look at that recent conference to see that a great conference or a great presentation at E3 still holds a lot of value and a lot of weight. And I think that conference itself has catapulted PlayStation, even without, like I said, a strong first party lineup, to the success it has today. But with a great showing, Xbox can really turn that around, or Nintendo. And let's not discount Nintendo as well.
That's right. I know they were all a couple years ago. They were all pushing motion gaming, but that never really took off like they're expecting it to.
No, not since the Wii, and then they decided to go into a little bit of a different direction. Obviously the Wii U, the monitor, the handheld monitor that you play with, the gamepad and whatnot, does have some, um, motion, abilities, but it's still most of first and foremost the game system first and foremost that doesn't require it. Um, and then I just think they're still lined up. They were losing money as a company for at least a couple of years now, and I just think that their horizons are a lot brighter. And for them, I believe it started last year at E3 with their great and very solid presentation and tree houses that they had. And it's gone forward from there with the boom of the amiibos that has proven such a windfall for them, and Super Smash has been very solid for them, and so has Mario Kart as well. They've both been very solid hits for them, and obviously them going into the mobile platform has been something I've been asking for many years, and I'm hoping that it will work out, and very pleased to see where Nintendo's actually going now, and they could make themselves another favorable impression with gamers, especially the new 3DS XL has done very well in the U.S. marketplace, and they
Right.
have a lot to gain as well by a great showing at E3.
And Battleborn, that was the game I was talking about, 2K, the one I couldn't
Oh
remember.
yes, Battleborn. I've seen some the video. They just had a E3 video that they released this week. The game looks very solid, but I don't want to get my hopes up too high on multi-platform games on occasion, because at this point in time of the year, last year, Evolve was on everybody's radar. It won numerous game of the show awards at E3, and it ended up with, well, as you know, it ended up okay, ended up highly rated here when it was released earlier this year, but I don't think it's ever met the sales expectations that many thought it would have. back last year when it was winning all those awards. So I'm tempering my enthusiasm on Battleborn, but I really think it could be something very strong as well.
A lot of people are saying that 2K Games kind of mastered the whole multiplayer platform with Borderlands, how you can jump in and out of the games and level up with your friends. Do you think Battleborn will be anything like that?
That's tough to say, because from what I've seen, it does have some features that differentiate itself, but is it enough to attract a larger audience? It all depends on its release window. It all depends on, like for instance, The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 has come out at a great time when there's no real competition to be had. It's a outstanding marketing program by not only CD Projekt Red but Warner Brothers. They're helping them out, has produced a big hit for them. I see if Battleborn, if they were to be in a window and a time frame where they are the big game in town, properly promoted, they can produce something strong. But as like I said, Evolve, Titanfall. Titanfall is an outstanding game, which we also reviewed strongly, but the legs on it has not been what it has needed to be or should have been. So it just sometimes it's just comes down to a great marketing campaign. Sometimes it comes down to great reviews, great word of mouth. Sometimes it comes down to a lot of luck too.
Yeah. Well, there is a game that everybody's been hoping for at E3 this year with the, I know we were talking about what encompasses an RPG these days last time we had a podcast, and I think Mass Effect is it's got the elements of a third-person shooter, but also kind of has that role-playing thing. Do you think that we'll see a Mass Effect at E3 this year?
I think you will see more of it. I think you will see it shown. I mean, they've already said it's coming out. They've already said they're in development one. Last year, they just showed the studio for a lot of the projects at EA, which I thought was just mind-numbingly stupid. But yeah, I didn't understand why they were doing it. They would just go, here, this studio, this is us working on this project. This is us working on this Mirror Edge project. This is us working on Mass Effect.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was just fans and gamers want and investors and the press who they are really trying to go after at E3, because E3 is the biggest platform for these companies to get their word to not just us, the gamers, but more importantly, the consumer audience. And when you're talking about a game like Mass Effect, whether it's Mass Effect 4 or Mass Effect, whatever they're going to call it, sometimes I've heard lately talk that companies are now trying to avoid putting numbers on games based on sales. So who knows? Whatever the case may be, I believe that's correct. Mass Effect, I think a little bit was shown, but not really that much had shown last year. But I think it would be shown much more extensively. Will it be a holiday release? I don't think so. I still think it's going to be a 2016 release. But I think there'll be enough shown to get fans excited. Obviously, as you can see by Mr. Shepard, Colonel Shepard, right behind me, Captain Shepard, excuse me, right behind me, that I'm a big fan of it. As far as playing all three, even through the controversial ending of Mass Effect 3 for many, I still enjoy the series to full, and I look forward to be able to get my hands on a controller when the next Mass Effect finally comes to retail shelves. But yes, we will definitely see at the EA conference, or maybe at one of the bigger conferences, because maybe they might make it exclusive, or say the usual. Okay, Mass Effect's coming in multi-platform, but let's say PlayStation gets some exclusive content or something like that, because that's money. That's potential money for these companies to get from these publishers and from these console makers, and that's something sometimes that a lot of these development companies and publishers like EA don't want to pass up.
Which there's a lot of speculation on where the story is going to go from here. Do you have any idea of what it could be or what you would like it to be?
Well, the first thing that disappointed me is that this guy right here is out the picture.
Yeah,
So,
or
because
fresh
he was in the ending that you could have gotten. Sorry, spoilers. He's a very old man. So that's so obviously they might flash forward it to what 100, 200, 300 years down the line. They may do that, but I'm going to keep an open mind because I have faith in the franchise. I am concerned though with the direction because Casey Hudson, who was the project director for all three of the previous Mass Effects, is no longer with the company, and that's always of a great concern when the guy most responsible for the franchise is no longer there. So that always concerns me. But I'm sure he left with a general direction. Maybe hopefully that was understood by EA on where the direction of the game will go, and hopefully it will stay in a positive direction. So whatever the case may be, whether it's civil war in space or something of that nature that's done, I'm truly glad to be hopefully returning to that galaxy very very soon.
yeah, because I don't know, the Reapers, that was a pretty big force to go against because threatening the galaxy. Whereas a franchise like Halo, they kind of planted the seeds for future franchise. When they mentioned the Forerunners and even from the first one, I don't even know if they planned on doing that. But with Mass Effect, there's not really a lot out there unless they go deeper into the origins of these species that roam the Citadel.
Yes, and um, because there's not too many extenuating books, or there's not a whole canon per se. There's some novels that have been written in the Mass Effect universe. There's some novels that have been written in the Mass Effect universe, but I think, sorry, my daughter. There's some stories that have been written in the Mass Effect universe, but not to the extent of the Halo franchises. As you know, there's an extensive Halo universe that's out there, and leading to all sorts of different situations that you can create up for the Halo franchise. So the Halo franchise is pretty much easier to predict and also easier to follow for a lot of hardcore gamers. The Mass Effect, whatever's done in the future for them, is going to be really, somewhat of a surprise for virtually all the gamers that are out there
Which
on
can
where
be good.
direction it's going to go.
Yeah. All right. Well, what about Uncharted 4? So that it's been
Oh boy.
4 years since they made an Uncharted game, but yet Sony's been filling the years with God of War. So what do you think made them decide to make a sequel to that after all these years?
um, Personally, I think with God of War, it just comes down to familiarity. A lot of gamers have the familiarity with the Uncharted, with the God of War series. So I think it's inevitable that they go back to it. When you're investing 50, 100, $150 million on these projects, as the top developers and top publishers do, they want to go something that's a safer bet than, let's say, a new project going on, like yeah, just come up with one of the PlayStation were like the Order 1886 or Bloodborne or something like that. Those games cost a substantial amount as far as to produce and be able to be made. But unfortunately, none of those games were given enough love to be put in the holiday season where you can really bank on it, because they were afraid that maybe those games might not fare as well with the Call of Duties of the world and whatnot. The Uncharted series, which I was very saddened to hear was being delayed until next year, is something that now, at 21 million in sales later, has become a pillar franchise for the company, along with God of War. But my concern with the God of War series is that, has the God of War series been played out? Is Kratos' universe still strong enough to support another title?
Okay. And the Uncharted collection is obviously coming out. Is that any thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. It's it's definitely something you want to look forward to. You know, myself, it's going to be something that I will get again, and that's how much I love the franchise. But more importantly, I think it's comparable to The Last of Us, because even though The Last of Us has sold very well on previous generations, as did the Uncharted series, you will see a lot of people who have not been able to play or did not play the series, either series, on this current gen consoles, grab it and play it and and decide for themselves how good the series is. I think that will weigh heavily on how well Uncharted 4 does, because people will now become more familiar with the series. More people will become more familiar with the series come next year when Uncharted 4 comes out. That series, from a storytelling standpoint, is as good as it's ever been in video games. I'm going to say that again. It's as good as it ever has been from a video games storytelling standpoint, as anything, any line and iteration of games, any series, it'll match up with any of them, and that's just my humble opinion.
No, I agree. It's compelling. It's like reading a book that you can't put down. You just want to keep playing well into the late hours of the night.
Exactly. There will be, you will be playing. I've played the Uncharted series, and I've had my wife or other people that just sit down and just watch it with me, because I don't want to use the I guess I don't want to really use the vernacular, but I'm gonna have to use vernacular often instead of the Uncharted series. It's just like watching a movie, and for many, yeah, it's been an enjoyable experience throughout. And the Uncharted collection for many will be a new experience when it comes out, because a lot of people have switched from the Xbox One and the Wii over to buying a PlayStation 4. That is the current best-selling console, and to be able to introduce that to customers, a whole new slew of customers, is obviously very, very smart by PlayStation, because they were, as I told you before, there were some gaps that they need to fill, and at least this, in some way, will fill up some of those gaps. Not all, because the aspect of losing a first run game of the status and earmark of Uncharted 4 would have been, even more promising during the holiday season. But definitely the Uncharted collection will sell, in my opinion, very strongly, be promoted very heavily, and hopefully along with other titles, hope, hopefully other titles like let's say No Man's Sky, which I'm hoping will be very, very good. It's been very promising, and I know that's going to be a benchmark of what Sony will show next week. And then also as well, um, uh, I'm probably going to have to say The Last Guardian. I know it's been rumored. I know it's probably in more development than you and I have been alive. But I definitely think that will finally, the rumors are flying everywhere, stronger than ever, that it will actually be shown in some form or confirmed as being with a release date or release window sometime, this later this year, early next year. It'll be confirmed next week. Rumors have the actual designer, lead designer of the PlayStation 4, Mark Cerny, actually now having his hands on it, so that will finally come to fruition. I know it's probably, the money spent on that game probably would have solved the world debt, and it will never make back what, I mean, even if it does GTA 5 sales, it will never make back what the money invested on it. But it will be nice to at least see it out and being, uh, something that PlayStation can stand behind, because they do need it for this holiday season,
And
if it comes out then.
yeah, and it'll definitely make a lot of people happy to hear about it. That's like a lot of huge fan base for that game.
Well, but also as well, I hope people's it's been on a roller coaster ride for a lot of people. It's been on this anticipation. Oh, really wanted to play it, really want to play it, and then year after year it goes down, it goes down, it goes down. So now it's to the point where if it does come out, it doesn't have to meet those high expectations. It just has to be a really good game. That's all it has to be at this point in time.
So we covered a majority of the big franchises. There's a couple left. What about Assassin's Creed and Final Fantasy? You think we'll see anything? I know Square Enix said they weren't going to be showing Final Fantasy 15 footage this year at E3, but do you think they have any projects in the pipeline that they're going to surprise us with?
Well, from Square Enix, yeah, I think they're going to show us the new Hitman. I think also going to show more Deus Ex because they announced that a Deus Ex sequel is on the way. So I think you're going to see a lot of footage from both. For Ubisoft, you're going to see obviously the new Assassin's Creed, the yearly iteration of Assassin's Creed um, come out, and hopefully with Assassin's Creed Syndicate, it will be a much better representation than Unity was, because that was really with all of its bugs
Full
and
of
all of its
flaws.
problems. Yeah, just really a big mess for them. And I think with Ubisoft, the game I'm looking forward to the most, to be quite honest with you, is um, Rainbow Six. Rainbow Six Siege. That really is the game that could bring a lot of fortune to Ubisoft if it's promoted properly. The Division has been delayed till next year, but they're going to show footage from that. But Rainbow Six, uh, personally, in my mind, since I'm a big Rainbow Six Vegas fan from way back in the day, I think is something that really could work out very well for them.
What about Watch Dogs 2? You think we'll hear anything about that?
I think that'll be announced. I think that'll probably be a video be announced. But they're going to be smarter about this time because when they initially announced Watch Dogs, they had this tremendous video which could never live up to the expectations of the game when it came out. They had this demo which just wowed and floored everybody. Yeah, and I tell you, be the first to tell you, I thought it was awesome as well. And then the game came out a couple, years later, and unfortunately, it could never match what that original demo was all about. But I do think Watch Dogs 2, it sold well. It sold 10 million copies worldwide, and so obviously with that kind of fan base, um, however mediocre or above average reviews aside, I think Watch Dogs 2 will definitely be something that's now in the pipeline and could be announced as early as next week.
Okay. Yeah, I pretty much covered everything. Do you have any other games you're looking forward to from any consoles or companies?
Well, actually, just a lot of the indie and smaller titles. I know Chris for Game Source, we got him down there. It's going to be our 6th year down there. I know one focus of his always every year is going to there's a tremendous representation for a lot of indie companies and indie developers that are down there. Usually, quite a few of them are congregated in one area so that people can take a look and see what they have showcased. I'm looking forward to seeing what Chris can report on that because a lot of these independent titles are really cool and come out really, really awesome when they come to a Vita, a PS4, a PC, or an Xbox One. I'm looking forward to that. Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I know is already available in Japan, but I'm always looking forward to seeing where that game is where it's going. Seeing they're going to do anything for the domestic release later this year because that game is looking really really nice. Mario Maker for the Wii U is looking like that's going to be a lot of fun. And I know actually people, if you go to selected Best Buys next week, they will be able to actually try a little bit of Mario Maker in selected Best Buys next week. Nintendo has already announced that. Those titles and hopefully something that I wasn't even expecting. I'd like to see come to fruition. I always like getting surprised. I always like getting surprised by something good at E3 because now it's even harder and harder to do because due to leaks, due to so many organizations leaking out the footage or news or listings. It's so very hard to keep secrets within the industry these days, and I just look forward to the day I can be surprised again, like I was, 6, 10 years ago when I was watching.
Right, and they have a lot of. I know a few companies have said they're going to be saving some of their big reveals for Gamescom.
Yes, because it's based. A lot of them that like the traditional games that do well in the European market. Um, they will definitely look forward to showing off there. Plus, Sony has said PlayStation said it's not going to be at Gamescom. It's going to be at the Paris Gaming Week, which is something new, I guess. It's really trying to promote and become another Gamescom over there. So I think in order for their first initial foray, they've asked and maybe incentivized PlayStation to showcase a lot of stuff there as well. So you're going to see a lot of stuff that maybe Sony holds off till then. But I really am looking forward to a great E3. I think it's going to be a pivotal one as well, as I stated in my article, because the grace period and love fest for the current generation consoles for a lot of consumers is now over. You now have this PS4, you now have this Wii U, you now have this Xbox One, and okay, where's the games for it? Where is the stuff for it? I want to see, what it now. I have it. I've had it for a little while. I want to see now what it can do, and so now you need to show me, Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo, what these systems can do, and I think next week it's going to be a very pivotal week for all three on their future, at least for the next chunk of time, because what they announced here could really give one of those companies a leg up in this arms race. A lot of people say that there is no console wars or anything of that nature. There always is, because you got to remember, Josh, I, when we go to the store and we go holiday season, we're not going to buy 3 consoles, 3 handhelds, what have you. We're going to buy one system each year, most likely, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so it is a console war with all these companies fighting for your pocketbook. So it is a war in essence, and next week could determine a lot. Could go a long way into determining for a lot of people which system they're going to buy, handheld or console, later this year.
All right, perfect. I think that does it.
Oh, and also Left 4 Dead 3. If Left 4 Dead 3 came out, that would be the bomb.
That's right. It's been years since we've seen a Left 4 Dead entry.
That would be the bomb. Just Left 4 Dead 3 on multi-platform, that would make my E3.
I think that was a big thing with that, was the four-player co-op on there. That's a lot of people really love that.
Yeah, I do. I still play it occasionally to this day. I have it up on the, play it on the PC, and it's still a lot of fun.
All right, well, good. Well, we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. If you get a chance, anyone out there, if you're listening, watching, what have you, check us out at yourgamesource.com. We're also GameSource on Facebook, at GameSource on Twitter. Josh has got this great book, Vendetta Dark, which is doing well on Amazon, and really looking forward to get my hands and get a chance to read that. Plus, also, we got to interview you as far as it's concerned on the book itself, so we can help any way we can with that.
That's right.
But we've got a great E3 page that's already up. It's going to have all the conferences, if you missed any, that are going to be onto it. I know Josh has said today that he said he's going to be part of our podcast. We're going to have one right after the Xbox conference. We're going to have one on Monday night after all the conferences for Monday night, and then one on Tuesday night with Nintendo. After Nintendo and Square Enix and the PC gaming thing is done, we're going to have one Tuesday night as well. So if you're out there listening and watching or what have you, hope you get a chance to check it out.
All right.
Are we all set?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I ran out of questions.
Oh, no worries. I didn't know if you were closing out or whatnot. Just, anybody who's out there watching, we appreciate it. And Guardians of the Geek, there you go.
All right. Check us out on YouTube or on GameSource.
There you go. We're going to be posting it, and really glad to be a part of it, and hoping that this will be the first of many, many, many episodes for you, Josh.
All right. Thanks, guys.